In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Glory to Jesus Christ. I'm reminded today of a movie I saw this past Thursday with James called A Hidden Life. I would like to recommend it to you. I actually like to make it mandatory viewing for all of Orthodox Christians and the entire country, especially right now. It was written and directed by Terrence Malick, whom the LA Times called a Christian philosopher-poet. It is the story of one Austrian man, a farmer in the foothills of the Austrian Alps, and his family's courage in the face of the evil of Hitler and the Nazi demand for absolute fealty and obedience to the fascist dictatorship. As the townspeople turned their backs on him and the Nazis' vile torment attempted to break him, Franz Jägerstätter pursues with quiet grace and dignity his heart's call to maintain his integrity. Even his priest begs him to sign the oath of obedience to Hitler, saying this: God does not care about the words, but only what is in your heart. Of course, God cares about both. And this good man could not betray his heart, as so many did then, and so many do now. His life was ended without fame or fanfare, quietly, and he was buried in an unknown grave. His detractors along the way often argued that his martyrdom would do no good for anyone and would be utterly forgotten and fruitless and could not possibly change the course of the war. Nothing really could be further from the truth, for no act of courage and integrity ever dies. God sees all and rewards all. The postscript to the movie was a quote by the author George Eliot, who was actually a woman named Mary Ann Evans, who published her books under a male name because she felt they wouldn't be published if she came forward with her true identity. She dispels this satanic lie with this quote: "For the growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs." I found out afterwards that as we came out, we ran into Father Maximus Constas from the seminary, who actually consulted on the film. I'm going to blame him for these things. This quote and this movie and this life calls to mind the Lord's admonition: do not let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Doesn't matter who recognizes it. God sees all. The gospel and the life of Christ are mirrored in the movie to devastating effect. For the Lord, like this Austrian farmer, lived as he spoke and lived to help and to heal those around him with selfless integrity. For integrity can never be anything but selfless. Good men and women are known by this. The fruit of their lives is the welfare of others and the sacrifice of themselves. They live not from ego, but from their souls. I love David Bentley Hart's comment about ego and soul. Practically all of us, he writes, go through life as prisoners of our own egos, which are no more than shadows cast by our souls. End quote. We who would follow Christ must not live in the shadow of our selfish ego, our eccentricity, and our selfishness. In the light of His divine and limitless goodness is where our life must be led. St. Paul tells us the difference between shadow and soul in today's epistle, asking us to put away the works of darkness. It is a specific list, but it is not exhaustive. And I quote, "But now put them all away: wrath, malice, slander, foul talk from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old nature with its practices, and have put on the new nature, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its Creator. End quote. For all works of darkness produce rotten fruit. There is nothing good in them at all. Good fruit can never come from a bad tree. Let me leave you today with another quote by George Eliot that encapsulates the way we are called by Christ to live and the way this farmer lived his life. As the image of God, which leads to goodness and life, and not in the shallow, egoic image of inhuman self-interests, which always leads to corruption and violence. And the quote is this: "What do we live for if it is not to make life less difficult for each other?" In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.